frustrated by our current representation, and so we're here to elect Christine. The U.S. House in Washington, D.C. So I call this the Washington County to Washington, D.C. campaign.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Hey, well, thanks everybody. Good to see you. My goodness, what an amazing turnout. I love this. And you know, I love this place. I love the art. It's gorgeous. One of the things I do at the University of Iowa is I teach the copyright law, which deals with art and music and that kind of thing. And so I'm just at home here. I love this. And there's actually a famous case about this. I just noticed this about this painting right there, which was the cover of a National Geographic magazine at one point. So I teach that case. So yeah, so this is great. And so thank you so much. I'm just going to pace kind of back and forth because I have people in all directions at 360 degrees here, which is great. So I just want to talk a little bit about who I am and my vision for this job. So I'm a law professor at the University of Iowa. I've been here for about 23 years. And I've taught thousands of Iowa's sons and daughters and helped mentor them, helped give them good jobs, and I've loved that. I love teaching, I love working with young people. That's been a real joy for me. And I'm also currently in the Iowa House of Representatives, so in there I have stood up to some pretty bad bills that have been passed in the legislature in the last couple of years. I've also worked really hard to find common ground and to pass bipartisan legislation. I voted across the aisle a few times. I've worked closely with some Republicans on some issues like preventing elder abuse, which is a big issue in our state, also cracking down on human trafficking, some other issues like that. So those have been important issues for me, and I've been happy to work on those across the aisle. I moved to Iowa, 20 years ago, but it's good to know I was not born a law professor. That may surprise some of you to know. I grew up in Florida in a very small town. It was a town of about 600, outside a town of about 7,000. So a tiny town outside of a small town. And, the thing is, I grew up in a trailer. Neither one of my parents graduated high school. My dad was a construction worker. He worked very long hours in the hot sun for little pay. And we struggled a lot. I remember that, my mom had only a certain amount she could spend on groceries. And she would take $5 a week out to put my school clothes on layaway. That's how we paid for my school clothes. And I remember one of the very few times that I ever saw my dad cry was when he didn't think he was going to have money for me to go on a school trip that I really wanted to go on. And, but even with all of that, we made it work. We made it work until he got sick. He got emphysema, and just when he was getting sicker and sicker, his health insurance was canceled. He hit his coverage limit. And back then, that became a pre-existing condition. You couldn't then go and get health insurance anywhere else, right? So at that point, when when his health insurance was canceled, we lost everything. And it became very, very difficult for my family for the remaining years that he had left. And fortunately for me, public education and hard work really changed my life. I got a great education in public school, all the way from kindergarten up through college and law school, public all the way. And I started working when I was 14. I've had just about every job you can imagine. I started with waiting tables, I cleaned homes, I picked fruit, I worked retail, and I worked in a hospital billing department deciphering doctors' handwriting, which was by far the hardest job I've ever had, hands down. But with all of that, and then with affordable college tuition at the time, student loans, scholarships, I was able to work my way through engineering school and law school and become the first in my family to graduate college. My dad didn't get a fair shot, but I did. And because I got a fair shot, here I am running for the United States Congress. And I tell you that because I want you to understand who I am. I want you to know what I've seen. And I want us to think about what we could do, what we could be, if every person who worked hard got a fair shot, not only to get by, but to get ahead. So I'm honored to run for Congress. It's been wonderful to go all throughout the district. I've been all over. I've been going from, Indianola and Knoxville over to Davenport. I've been going to Maquoketa and Anamosa down to Keokuk. I was in Keokuk and Fort Madison yesterday. And so one thing I see there is that people all over Iowa also work hard. And they are not the lazy workers or non-workers that Kim Reynolds says we are. We are not kicked back in that hammock she talked about, taking it easy, right? We didn't enjoy the pandemic, okay? Iowa workers are heroes. They are the unsung heroes that got us through the pandemic. It wasn't Reynolds, it wasn't the corporate CEOs, it was our workers who were working overtime, long hours, sometimes at risk to themselves or their families, who kept food on our tables, kept our shelves stocked, took care of our sick people, and kept our businesses afloat. And they were happy to do it because, when I talk to people, they believe in hard work. But they also believe that they can do a lot more if they're given the chance. I talked to people who said they're happy to work 40 or 50 years, but they'd like to have something to show for it at the end. Another one said, I'm working hard, a union guy said, I'm working hard and I'm happy to do that, but I don't want to just get by, I'd like to get ahead. And everybody wants more opportunities for their kids than they have for themselves. The thing is, we can do all of that. It's possible. We can do those things. We can make that happen. But there are some things we've got to do in Iowa. First of all, we have to reinvest in public education. That is we have gotten away from that, right? We were a champion, a leader in public education. And now it's all about vouchers, and it's vilifying teachers, saying they have a sinister agenda. This can't go on. We have to respect our teachers. I can remember every single school teacher I ever had. And I think about Mr. Waters, my chemistry teacher, who prepared me for engineering school. I think about Ms. Lopez, who taught me American government. And in 7th grade, she had me memorize the preamble to the United States Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. She put that in my head. And I went on, and I think it's one of the things that made me become a law professor, to want to teach people about our democracy, our Constitution, our great country. Because that was in there. It inspired me at a very young age. And we have to get back to respecting our teachers. We have to reinvest in public education at every level, from pre-K, K through 12, community college, university, skills training, and apprenticeships across the board. These are our future doctors and nurses. They are our builders, our carpenters, right? They're our teachers. This is what we have to invest in if we want Iowa to have a good future. The other thing we have to do is reinvest in healthcare. As I talk to so many people, there are people who are just spending way too much of their income on healthcare. We've got to bring those healthcare costs down. And there are people who also, even at that cost, still don't have access to good healthcare, either because they don't have insurance, like my dad, or because they have to drive an hour to get to a doctor or to get to a pharmacy or something like that, okay? And here's the thing, we keep hearing a lot about we need to rebuild our small towns. We've got this workforce shortage. We keep hearing a lot about the workforce crisis, right? The governor and the Republicans in the state are talking a lot about that. But let me tell you something. If there isn't a school in your community, young families are not going to live and work there. And if people don't have access to health care in their community, they are not going to live and work there. So if we're serious about this, and I am, because I come from a small town, this is my passion. If we really want to rebuild our small towns, if we want to solve this workforce crisis, it's not rocket science. It's not that hard, right? Good jobs. Good pay, benefits, and respect. Those are the things that we need to work on. And so here are a few concrete things that we need to do. First of all, I've been talking to people all throughout the district. They want to work. In fact, that's what they're asking for. They want to work. But they need transportation, childcare, broadband, and affordable housing. Those are the things. That's the infrastructure that we have to provide. It's absolutely critical. The other thing that we have to do is we have to reward hard work. Our unions. I want to talk about our unions for a minute because our unions have been gutted.
Yeah, they have.
And I see the power of unions. My dad, I already told you about him and what happened to him because of a lack of things like benefits, health care, right? My uncle died on a construction site because of unsafe conditions, okay? They didn't belong to a union. My brother and my nephew do. My brother's in electrical workers, my nephew's in firefighters. They work hard and they do well. Unions are fundamentally about making sure that people who work hard will get a fair shot. And there is nothing fundamentally more Iowan or more American than that. So we've got to restore our collective bargaining and our union rights. We also obviously have to get on top of inflation. It's too high. Costs are too high, gas, groceries, everything. Okay? And that's a complicated thing. There are a lot of reasons for that. The pandemic, it's a worldwide phenomenon. I know a lot of people are blaming Joe Biden and this and that for that. Let me tell you something. High prices, inflation is a worldwide problem. It's worse in some other places than it is here. Joe Biden did not cause this problem. Okay? But let me tell you something. We need to get to the bottom of where some of this is coming from. Because I think the pandemic is to blame for a lot of it. But we're also seeing some corporations that said they had to increase prices, jacked up way high, groceries for one, meat processing, places like that. And they blamed supply chain problems for it. And then they turned around and posted record profits coming out of the pandemic. Now you tell me how that works. If their costs are that high, if their supply chain problems cause their prices to go up, we should not see them posting record profits right now. We've got to get to the bottom of that. We need to see if there's some price gouging going on during COVID. So there are a lot of things that we need to deal with there, but I think that looking at things like bringing more manufacturing back to the United States, I think is really important, and that would benefit a state like Iowa, which is a manufacturing and agricultural state. Okay, we need to look at these companies that have maybe taken advantage of the pandemic and our workers. Okay, we've got to reward hard work. That's another thing. We've got to put more money in the pockets of working people, increase our wages, restore our union rights. So those are some things that would be priorities for me. Now, here's the thing about that. There is widespread agreement on a lot of these issues. Okay? During the, I don't know if you remember the UAW strike at John Deere, a very reliable poll showed that 60% of people supported that. They supported that strike because they didn't think it was a fair contract and John Deere had gotten record profits out of that. 60% of people supported the workers at that point. Now, happily, they came with a good contract. It all worked out, and I'm very glad about that. I appreciate that John Deere came to the table and did that. Okay, but 60% of people support that. 80% of people across all political parties support having Medicare negotiate for lower drug prices. 80% of people don't agree that the sky is blue, okay? 80% of people support this across parties. These are the kinds of, an overwhelming majority don't support these private vouchers in the state legislature right now. So why is this happening, right? Why aren't we doing the things that everybody agrees on? Why don't we just go ahead and do that? Because our extreme politics are getting in our way. And I want to spend a minute on this because I think this is one of the greatest threats to our country is the divisiveness that we are seeing right now in our politics. So here's what I think think about that. You know, I'm a law professor. I teach that there are two sides to every argument. I have my students argue both sides, and then I make them flip, you know, and flip and argue the other side, right? Because I want them to understand that there are good arguments to be made across the board, right? So I believe in debate, and I believe in our two-party system. I believe that debate makes us stronger. But what we have right now in our country and the bitter politics that we see, that is not about healthy debate. It is tearing down our democracy. It is tearing down our country. So one of the things that I am doing in this campaign is I am reaching out across the aisle. I am reaching out to all parties. I believe in free speech. I've been a strong, I see the sign right there, which makes me happy. I'm a strong First Amendment advocate. I'm a strong advocate for free speech across the board. And I believe that we need to bring in people and, you know, independents, moderate Republicans, people who maybe aren't quite happy with the way that the Republican Party is doing right now nationally. I am reaching out to them. So I would love your help with that. Okay, that's really important to me. But we need to do that. We need to get back to a point that we can debate things without it becoming so ugly. And unfortunately, a lot of our representatives right now, that's not what they're doing. That's not how they go about doing this work. They would rather tell lies than face facts and work together to find real solutions to real problems. They use culture wars to divide us and distract us from the fact that they aren't doing anything to make people's day-to-day lives better. They are slaves to their party bosses instead of servants of the people. And nowhere is that more true than right here in the new 1st District and my opponent, Representative Bohanan District. Now, I told you, I worry about our divisive politics. I am not here to call names or smear or anything like that, but I do believe in telling the truth about somebody's record, especially when I think they are putting their party over the needs of the people. So here's what we see. Representative Miller Meeks has spread lies and misinformation so many times that we've lost count. Her hometown paper, the Ottumwa Courier, said, quote, she has a concerning detachment from facts and reality. That's her hometown paper. Also, she has sided with extreme members of her party. The other day, I got a phone call. I picked up my phone, and it said, Marionette Miller Meeks was calling. I said, oh, my opponent's calling me. Have a conversation, right? So I picked it up. It wasn't her. It was a robocall, of course, right? Should have known. But anyway, but the robocall invited me to a town hall. I don't know if some of you got this. Yeah, invited us to a town hall with her special guest, Jim Jordan. I see you've heard of him, right? Yeah. He is one of the most extreme and divisive members who have ever served in Congress. That's who she's aligning herself with. She has also consistently voted against the needs of the people of Iowa and in favor of her party bosses. She voted against the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which everybody in Iowa knows we desperately need. Even Chuck Grassley voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and he has been talking about how good it is for Iowa. She voted against the America Competes Act, which would help the United States compete with China by bringing innovative manufacturing jobs to places like Iowa, things like semiconductor manufacturing, which we are very well suited to do, which would be great jobs for Iowa. She voted against that. She voted for China. She also has positions on healthcare that are just mind-boggling. I can't get my head around it. She has voted over and over and said over and over that she supports repealing the Affordable Care Act and its protections for people with pre-existing conditions, people like my dad. She has said that she supports ending Medicare as we know it and turning it into a voucher plan. What's all these vouchers? What's the obsession with vouchers? She wants to turn it into a voucher plan because she thinks that Medicare is being tapped out because seniors are using their health care too much. She literally said this. She said that they are using it too much, that seniors, when they're sick, instead of going to the doctor, they should gargle with salt water. Okay, did you hear that, everybody? Stop going to the doctor, gargle with salt water. Okay, you just go on and do that. Over and over and over on these issues, she is voting with the party bosses and against the people of Iowa. She even voted against providing health care to veterans who have gotten rare tumors, cancers, and blood disorders after being exposed to toxic burn pits in places like Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Why? Because it costs too much spending. I think if we can spend hundreds of millions of dollars to send our troops over into harm's way around the world, I think we can spend a fraction on that to take care of them when they get home.
Yes.
Iowa is about fairness, hard work. It's about looking out for each other. But our representative is not looking out for us. She is extreme. And I think about people like both Jim Leach and Dave Loebsack, who represented this district. Jim Leach was a Republican, Dave Loebsack a Democrat, and they disagreed on some things. But they both served this district with honor and integrity. They told the truth, and they put the people ahead of divisive politics. We need to get back to that kind of representation. So, whether you're a Democrat or an independent or a Republican, I'm assuming most people in this room are Democrats, but it doesn't matter. Whatever party you're from, if you believe in country over party, if you want representatives, a representative who will tell the truth and will work to find real solutions to real problems, and if you believe in giving every Iowan and every American a fair shot, I would be honored to have your support. So thank you. I just want to say, what's that?
You got it.
All right. Hey, so I just want to say one word about this race, about the campaign, about this. How many of you know the number of votes that Mary Nat Miller Meeks won by? Six votes, and yes, and there were some ballots there, right, that weren't counted. So 6 votes, that's it. And I don't know how many of you know this, but the district is a little bit different this time. It's a little better for Democrats. It got a little better for us. So we can win this race. We can win this one. I know everybody thinks it's tough right now for Democrats, and it is. I'm not gonna lie about that. But this race, this district, 2022, we can win this one. But I will tell you that it has never been more important. Every door you knock, every phone you call, every yard sign you put up, every vote you turn out has never been more important than it is right now, because it could literally shape the future of our state and country right here in this district. So I'm so happy you came today, happy to talk to you, happy to take questions, and thank you for your support.